The greatest weekend in all of college football has arrived as Texas takes on the Sooners in the Red River rivalry. The MLB playoffs has finally arrived, and it was another action-packed week of football around the NFL. All of this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Coming back to that 2021 MVP. He's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Baker Mayfield. He's not better than Mahomes. I can't say that. What?
See, the different kick, you get kicked. So,
bag of money or whatever, some food inside of them. Okay. All right. We're gonna move on.
Yes. Good evening and welcome into the most renowned and entertaining sports show on the planet. I'm your official host, Ryan Swantkowski, and we have a great show for you this evening. Before meeting our contestants, I want to share with you that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. All right, let's go ahead now and meet the players of the game tonight. And man, are they good. Introducing first, the College Crossfire Week 4 winner and the man with some wicked sports knowledge, like my God, Jason Kinander. Jason, how are we doing?
Oh, it is so nice to be back, Ryan. I love this show. I love OU Week, one of the great weeks to be on this campus. It's awesome to be joined by these two as well. So, awesome.
Awesome. Well, we're very happy you're here. You can go ahead. You can pass that one down. He's a little nervous, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing second, a TSTV sports icon and a man looking to take down these other two sports heavyweights as well, David Pokorny. David, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's been a while, but like Texas, I'm back. So, it's really nice to be around two of the greatest that I've ever seen. And, it's gonna be a battle. It's going to be a battle. And I love a battle.
I love that. Who doesn't love a good battle? It's gonna be awesome tonight. Welcome, David. Thank you for joining us. And introducing third, my Vipe Sports brother, 24/7 sports legend, former host of Crossfire, and a depressed Bears fan, Tommy Yarrish. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't think I could have asked for a better introduction. It's great being back in this seat. As you mentioned, I used to be in that one. Could not have asked for a better replacement.
Oh, thank you, Tom. That's so sweet. Maybe bonus points. We'll see how that goes. Kidding. No bonus points whatsoever. Thank you all for being here tonight, and I'm very excited to get started. Before that, though, let's go over the rules of the game, just in case they've never tuned in before. There will be 3 rounds, with each round containing 3 questions, and points will be given to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the 3rd round wins and gets to come back for next week's show as well. But we can't forget that the 3rd and final round, or the rapid fire round, is worth double the points. That meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, and so on. Also in this rapid fire round, these contestants have not been able to see or prepare for these questions whatsoever, meaning they'll have to improvise, overcome, and just hopefully not get caught in the crossfire.
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you, Tommy. Now that the game is explained, let's get to firing. The Longhorns defeated the Kansas Jayhawks by a final score of 40-14 this past Saturday. I usually would ask something about this game, but given this week's game, let's focus on that a bit more. Texas now heads to Dallas to take on the Sooners in an undefeated versus undefeated matchup. For this game, who will be the biggest impact player and why? And for this first question, we're going to start with Jason over here.
Appreciate that, Ryan. Well, it's a big game. It's the most high-profile Texas-Oklahoma matchup in over a decade. Both teams are undefeated for the first time since 2011, but it's a different form of undefeated for both teams. Texas has the #1 strength of record in the country. Oklahoma is yet to play a team outside the FPI top 50. And so what I think the big matchup here is going to be, you have a Sooners offense that's been playing pretty flawlessly this year. Dylan Gabriel, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They do not have an established run game, so if they win, it'll have to be through the air. I think Texas's biggest weakness on defense is that that secondary. If the safeties can step up, Texas will be able to stop the Oklahoma passing game. That leads to my best player, my focus player for Texas, Jahdae Barron. He stepped up big, been their biggest takeaway machine on defense this year. He's my biggest player to watch for Texas against Oklahoma on Saturday.
Wow, fair enough. I really liked how you brought in the run game there for OU. Seems to be struggling, could be their weak point. Was not expecting to hear Jahdae Barron tonight, in all honesty, but I like the call. David, what you got?
Well, I'm going to ignore that slight on my hometown Kansas team, but we'll go right into this OU matchup. Listen, Dillon Gabriel has only been sacked 4 times this season. They've played nobody at all that's tested that offensive line. Texas, on the other hand, they get to the quarterback. 12 sacks this season, and they come from everywhere. You got linebackers Anthony Hill and David Benda flying in to come and destroy the Bama O-line and Bama QBs, and fast runs too, like Jalen. But what my biggest takeaway is I think that Barron Sorrell actually is going to have his breakout game. I think the pressure's going to come from the edge. I think OU is going to be focused on those linebackers. They're going to be focused on Sweat because that interior is going to snuff out that little run game that OU thinks they have. And it's going to be a masterclass on defense. I think the Texas defense is really what's going to keep it in. It's going to be a close game like every Texas game has been. But fourth quarter, all gas, no brakes. We're going to blow the roof off that stadium that doesn't have a roof. Texas 34, OU 24.
Well, we give the score predictions. That's a nice question. That's okay. That's okay. We'll say it's okay. That's okay. You know, it's not. It's crossfire. Stuff happens.
Matt Marinchak, TSTV legend. There is no. What was the line? There is no roof. There is no ceiling because there's no roof.
Yeah. I like the passion though.
Sorry, Matt.
I like the passion. And okay, wow, wasn't expecting to hear Barron Sorrell's name either tonight, but here we are. We got score predictions early. We got Barron Sorrell. We got Jahdae Barron. It's already getting crazy up in here. All right, let's keep going. Tell me what you got.
So just a rookie mistake. Clarify the question. Are you looking for a Texas player or an Oklahoma player?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, that's good. For my answer, I think the X factor in this game is Oklahoma's quarterback, Dillon Gabriel. When you look at Dillon Gabriel's entire career, you kind of struggle to find a game as seismic as this that he's played, going back to his UCF days, going back to now at Oklahoma. He misses this game last year with an injury. Back when he was at UCF, you could argue his biggest game was at home against a ranked Kansas State team where he played very well, 3 for 3 touchdowns. But the Cotton Bowl is completely different. The Red River Shootout is completely different. Dillon Gabriel, like these two have mentioned earlier, has looked phenomenal this year, but you kind of have to question if that can translate against the Texas defense. This Texas defense ranks within the top 20 in total defense amongst all FBS teams. The question is, can Oklahoma rise up to that level and play the way they've been playing offensively? Dillon Gabriel is the key to that, and you mentioned the secondary as well. Ryan Watt's going to be huge in this game. If he's able to play, that certainly limits the deep threats that Oklahoma has at wide receiver. We've seen Nick Anderson go deep, and he's hit deep too. 5 touchdowns already this year. A guy they didn't really use last year whatsoever. He's hit, so all in all, to encapsulate that, Dillon Gabriel is your X factor. If he's on, the Oklahoma offense is on.
Wow, that was quite the explanation. Wow, quite the explanations across the board. Great answers across the board. I'm going to start with that right there. Looking at the points for this first question, Tom, I'm going to give you the 3. I think Dillon Gabriel for you has to be the X factor. The run game seems to be inexistent. What can he do against the Texas secondary? I'm going to give you the 3 there. 2, I'm going to give to Jason. I do think because there is almost no run game, it's going to have to be Gabriel passing. Jahdae Barron in relation on defense goes with that. And I'm going to give you the 1 to David. Again, you're not wrong. I like Barron Sorrell there. The D1 I think is going to be flying around, but I'm going to give you the 1 to start off question 1. Okay, sticking here with Texas versus Oklahoma, last season's game was an absolute blowout as Texas crushed the Sooners by a score of 49-0. And what seems to be a much better matchup this season compared to last, give me your winner, final score prediction, and a little preview of how you think the game will play out. It can be quarter by quarter, it can be just give me a little game flow. We're going to start with David here.
So apparently I got a little excited with my little preview already, but we're going to go and take it from the top. It's going to be a really slow game. It's going to be a lot more defensive than we've seen a Red River battle be in the past, and it's going to start out slow. It's going to be close. The student sections are going to be a little mad. It's going to be chippy. And then we get into the second half. I think Texas is going to be up around like 14-10. Very close match. But then we get to the second half, and that's when the fireworks are going to start to happen. It's going to be answer by answer. Texas is going to start with their run game, try to set up the screen. They'll maybe take 1 deep shot, I think, all the first half. But in the second half, it's just going to be fireworks show, and Texas is going to start to run away with it a little bit. And it's just going to be like the Bama game part 2. This is SEC football now. We're done with our Big 12 blowouts. It's SEC football now. Defense is going to show out. Texas is going to win 34-24, as I said earlier. Go Longhorns.
There you go. Okay, 30-24, like that. I think defensively a little bit more as well this game than in years past. And okay, conservative call here with the only one deep play first half, and then fireworks. I like the fireworks on the second half. Tommy, let's hear it.
Yeah, I think David put it really well in the fact that this, compared to other Red River shootouts, is going to be a very defensive-focused game. This Texas defense has looked phenomenal, and this Oklahoma defense really has too. The most points they've given up all season is 20 last week to Iowa State. They kind of looked a little bit shaky there in that first quarter and in the first half in general, and then they really tightened up the rest of the game. They have looked really good this season. So then the question lies on the offenses. I already talked about Dillon Gabriel and Oklahoma's offense. What about Texas? How about this? The last two Red River shootouts under Steve Sarkisian, Texas has gone over 500 yards of total offense in both games. This Texas offense hasn't gotten any worse, guys. I think they can do it again. The way that Steve Sarkisian calls plays, especially in this game, he likes to go deep into his bag of tricks and have an opening script that lands a punch on Oklahoma. We saw it in his first year in 2021. We saw it last year when they won 49-0. I think they go over 500 yards again. I think, again, in a defensive slugfest, Texas is able to pull away 31-24.
Okay, I like that score prediction as well, and I like that. Steve Sarkisian in the past 2 years especially, like you said, has really laid down the law to Oklahoma, has been very aggressive, at least from my point of view. So I like that, Tommy. Jason, round us off.
Yeah, I think that when you look at this Oklahoma offense, I think a little bit more about not what you have been, but what you are going to be. And when I look at who Oklahoma is running out there, wide receiver, tight end, and running back, that is easily the least talented group of skill players that the Sooners have had in over a decade. And while those players like Nick Anderson, like Andrell Anthony, have played well so far this season, this is the best Texas defense in over a decade. That's a pretty big mismatch. And as Tommy mentioned, over 500 yards of offense in the last two Red River games. The Texas offense is pretty close to a given. I hope I don't have to backtrack on that in a few days, but I really do think that. I think Texas is going to control the pacing of this game. I think Texas is going to control the pacing of this game. I think they're going to run away with it in the second half, but I think that it's going to be a little bit more low scoring than last year's game was. Give me 34-10, the Longhorns as a victors.
Wow. I love how you keep handing me the mic. I love it. It's on my 31-10. Wow, that might change things over here on the little scorecard. Great analysis across the board, though. I like a lot of the score predictions. Especially, I think it will be a little bit more defensive as well, as you all mentioned. That being said, I am going to give David the 3 here. I like your score prediction the best. I think Texas gets it done by 10. I've been saying that kind of all week long. Tommy, I'm going to give you the 2. I like your explanation. I like the score as well. 31-10 for me. Just a bit of a stretch. I think Red River especially, anything can really happen. I think OU will just put up a few more points than that. But I'm going to give you the 1 for question number 2 there. Okay. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh my gosh, it's OU hate week. What are we doing here? Look at this thing. This thing's going bye-bye.
Man, that really can't fly.
Yeah, it really doesn't go very far. Yeah, not very. You get the point. Everybody gets the point. Okay. Heading into week 6 of the college football season, the AP Top 25 is filled with Power 5 schools. Although this is how it should be, there are some other great teams out there that maybe aren't getting enough recognition. In your opinion, who is the best non-Power 5 college football team right now, and why? Tommy, we're going to start with you.
Well, I think this answer for me is pretty easy. I'm going with the Green Wave out of Tulane. This is a team that, remember last year, beat Caleb Williams and USC in their bowl game. Let that sink in. USC under Lincoln Riley, they're scoring 500,000 points every game. Granted, Alex Grinch doesn't know how to call a defense, but Tulane out of Louisiana beats USC, a national powerhouse, one of the best football programs of all time. Why is that? Well, starts with their quarterback, Michael Pratt. Really one of the most undervalued quarterbacks in all of college football. He has been terrific for them all season. He misses the first 2 games of the season. They lose a close one to Ole Miss. They only lost by 17 points to an Ole Miss team that's going to be competing for an SEC championship this year. Just plain and simple. That's extremely impressive. And the other part of their success, Willie Fritz, one of the most underappreciated coaches in all of college football who, when the right job opens, he's going to be able to make a jump into the Power 5, and he's going to be able to boost a program tremendously when he lands a job of that caliber.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the Green Wave call there, especially last year, beating Caleb Williams, who's probably going to win the Heisman again this year, won it last year. Absolute phenomenal athlete. I like the call, Tommy. Jason, let's hear what you got to say.
Well, Ryan, I hope I'm not cheating the question here, but as a 4-time champion, the way that you get a leg up on the competition is by reading the fine print. And the question is, who is the best college football team outside the Power 5? And for me, that's easy. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame showed a lot of guns last year. Notre Dame showed a lot of guts last week against Duke. That was a game that they should not have won. But what I look at with this Notre Dame team is they were quite literally 11 men being on the field away from beating Ohio State. If that left end lines up on the line of scrimmage, they stop that run, and Notre Dame is still undefeated and probably in the top 5, and we're all talking about them. And I wouldn't have gotten booed for this. So I have to go with the Fighting Irish. They have a heck of a schedule. I don't think this will be the answer at the end of the year. I really don't. I think it could be Tulane. I think it could be Fresno State. I think there are a couple other Power 5 or Group of 5 teams that sneak into the conversation. But right now, the answer is obviously Notre Dame for me.
Wow. Okay. A little around the question a little bit. I got to give it to you. That's pretty smart. Notre Dame. I'm still a big believer in Notre Dame. They got USC coming up. Some other good opponents. Let's see what they can do. I like it. All right. Round us off.
Well, I will respect the integrity of the question. And I think that the Mountain West is one of the conferences that we're not talking enough about. You got Fresno State, if you guys have mentioned. We got a hard Wyoming team that has got a quality win over Tech and also, played a good game against UT. But who's one of those teams that I really like? Air Force, baby. Air Force. They are 5-0, and they got 1,700 rushing yards to their opponent's 300. They are running the ball over everybody, and I love it. I love that kind of football. They have no interceptions on the season, mistake-free football, wins games. I think they're going to have a good time just winning the Mountain West. It's going to be pretty easy for them when they just run over absolutely everybody. 17 different players have run the ball for Air Force this season, and they're doing it at a level that they haven't at before. 37 points minimum every game, and also, listen, their defense is looking really good too. So, hey, Air Force, I see you.
Excellent. I'm glad somebody sees Air Force. That's what I'm talking about. I'm liking the passion here. What a great first round. Oh my God. What a great first round of questions here. This has been great. Great answers across the board per usual. With the 3, and I know the crowd's not going to like it, I have to give it to Jason, though. I don't like really how he did that, but you got to give it to him. Notre Dame's not in the Power 5, and I'm a believer in Notre Dame. They're still a top 10 team. So I'm going to give it a 3 there. That was smart. I'll give it to you. I'm going to give Tommy a 2 here. Great analysis on the wave. No hate to Air Force whatsoever. But I think if Air Force and Tulane played, I think probably Tulane would get the job done. And so, David, I'm going to give you the 1 to round that off. That will wrap things up for tonight's first round. Don't go anywhere. College Crossfire. We'll be right back. Welcome back into College Crossfire. Here we go, live audience. I love it, guys. I love it. Come on. Love that. We're going to go into a quick scoring update here. Tommy leads the way. Former host with 7 points, Jason in second with 6, and David with 5, all within 1 point of each other. A little bit of boo for David there. Oh my! Let's now dive into a little bit of some different topics. But we're going to talk MLB next week, by the way, as the wild card's still going on. We'll talk ALDSs, all that good stuff. The NFL this week had some dominant performers, such as Christian McCaffrey scoring 4 touchdowns, Khalil Mack having 6 sacks in a single game, and others. In your personal opinion, who is the most dominant player in the NFL so far this season, and why do you think so? And we're going to start with Tommy on the end here.
Well, this might be a little bit of an unconventional answer because I think when you think of most dominant player, a lot of people tend to lean towards quarterbacks. I'm going just straight football player, a guy that I would want to build my team around, and that's Tyreek Hill at the Miami Dolphins. Simply because there has never been a player like Tyreek Hill in the NFL, considering the level of speed that he has and the ability of him to get past the defender. And if they're playing soft coverage on him, he can just run a short route and beat you with his legs. If he gets in free space, it's game over. You could put prime Deion Sanders out there, and he's not going to be able to catch Tyreek Hill. And that's no disrespect to Coach Prime. Please don't cancel me. But,
He has 3 toes.
you may it didn't really stop his career. You have 1 toe, and he'd be doing the same thing. But when you look at the numbers, a lot of people tend to look at numbers. Maybe Tyreek Hill doesn't put up the best just because you think about the weapons that they have around him. Jalen Waddle in that wide receiver room. Devon Achane has looked to be a very promising player for the Miami offense. Tyreek Hill's going to get the job done for you, and when it comes to most dominant, you put the ball in his hands, he can win you a ball game. He proved it when he was in Kansas City. You're welcome. And he's going to improve it in Miami as well.
Okay, fair enough. Tyreek Hill is a very dominant player, game-changing player, and so I like to call it Tommy. Very unconventional. I like it, though. All right, Jason, let's hear it.
I'm going to stick with the same position, but I'm going to go across the country, and I want to welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West. Show everybody my LA Sox, Tupac, got the headband, got the Lakers Jordans. I think there's a pretty easy answer here. Puka Nacua, the rookie, who is on pace for 2,000 receiving yards this year. I mean, you wouldn't have any idea that Cooper Kupp has been out by watching the box scores of those games. The 3 players, if Puka Nacua ends up with 2,000 receiving yards, the 3 players in modern NFL history with 2,000 receiving yards all have the same quarterback, Matthew Stafford. I think that's crazy. I don't think you can keep him out of the Hall of Fame. That's not the question. Puka Nacua, he's been a matchup nightmare, fantasy dream, the rookie, the 5th rounder out of BYU. Shout out Tyler Moss in the back room. Puka Nacua.
Okay, so we have a rookie now being said to be the most impactful player in the NFL. I don't hate it. I like it. This is what Crossfire is all about. I like the take. Okay, let's hear it.
Well, I love Jason's answer because I was going to say it. And I also love Tommy's answer because it was one I heavily considered. Because the Miami Dolphins are absolutely rolling through every team right now. But let's do a quick pivot here. Only 2 weeks of actually playing football right now. Devin Achane is what he likes to be called now. Has been absolutely destroying teams on the ground with 4 touchdowns in his debut, 200 yards in his debut, and then coming around and playing second game and doing just the same work he's been doing. I think he had 150 yards in the second game that he played. Devin Achane is just absolutely destroying people too. So there hasn't really been a quarterback that's really wowed me. Not every quarterback has played 4 good games of football this season. Josh Allen's looked the best with the last 3 he's had, and the first game was shaky. And Mahomes has not looked himself either. So, I got to give it to Achane here when Puka and Tyreek are off the board.
Okay, so 2 rookies make our most impactful player in the NFL list, and one veteran over there. But I respect the takes, guys. These are great takes, and I like the explanations as well. The big smiles on the face looking at me. Give me points, with the 3, though, I'm going to give it to Tommy. Tyreek Hill, just purely is a better answer than both those answers. No shade. With the 2, I'm going to give it to Puka. I think Puka's been more impactful so far this season over Achane. And again, not that Achane's been bad. He's been phenomenal. But out of those other answers, David's going to get the 1 there. Moving to our second but final question of this block. A few teams around the NFL that made the playoffs last season seem to be struggling so far this season. A few of these teams include the Jaguars, Giants, Bengals, and more. Looking at all the teams that made the 2022 NFL playoffs, which one do you think has struggled the most so far, and why are they struggling? Jason, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, The NFL team which made the playoffs last season, who has been struggling the most so far this season, is the Minnesota Vikings, and there's a really easy answer for this. It's because their offense stinks. Kirk Cousins has been horrible this year. The offensive line that they didn't think to invest in, looks like they didn't invest in it. No Dalvin Cook is a pretty big difference. Alexander Mattison hasn't really been able to get his feet under him. And I'll tell you the biggest difference, though, about this offense is no Adam Thielen. Justin Jefferson hasn't been able to get open as often. Jordan Addison might be a great wide receiver, too, in 2 to 3 years. He is not right now. And that Minnesota defense wasn't even that good last year, and they won 12, 13 games. This year, they've taken a step back. They're not getting any younger. Minnesota Vikings are pretty easy answers, sitting at 1-3, down the barrel of a gun in a much better NFC North than anyone expected. I like two teams way more than I like them this year. Vikings, worst playoff team last year this year.
Okay, fair enough. Vikings 1-3 off to a very terrible start. Barely beat the Panthers. I don't know about the Kirk shade, though. Kirk's played well. You don't think so? I like the answer, though. Okay, David, let's hear it.
Well, I'll also pick the Vikings, but for different reasons. I actually think that their offense is doing fantastic. Justin Jefferson is number 1 right now in receiving yards, so he's not getting open. Well, getting open enough, I guess, to be the best in the NFL. And then you got Kirk Cousins, who leads the NFL in touchdowns. So both of those, I don't know if that's why the Vikings are being bad right now. I will agree with you, though, that offensive line is very injury-ridden. They've been trying to, pickpocket some random guys on free agency to try to fix that together. What I really think it comes down to is that they might just need to move on from Kirk Cousins. I think that even though he's playing at a high level, he's on last year of his contract, it's time for Minnesota fans to try to get that tank for Caleb Williams. Kevin O'Connell needs his quarterback for the future. That core is young and full of potential. If that O-line is healthy, they got a really good tackle in Christian Darrisaw. They got a top tight end, maybe number 2, in TJ Hawkinson. They got Addison, who's been playing at a great level. I don't like the Addison shade, honestly. And I love Justin Jefferson. So get them their quarterback of the future, and then every one of those picks that they need to take is a defender player, because that defense is horrible. Except for Hunter's good.
Yeah, okay.
Got 3 sacks.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I like the analysis there. I think the Vikings offense has been relatively good this year, but I do think Kirk does need to move on to another team. So I like that, David. I like that a lot. Tommy, round us off.
What team is he going to move on to? The retirement home?
I don't know.
I'm going to stay as far away from the NFC North as possible, not just because of the Vikings, but because of the Bears. A team that has kind of surprised me is the Jacksonville Jaguars, quite frankly. I thought this was a team that after they came back against Justin Herbert and the Chargers in the playoffs last year, really showed their true signs of potential, right? They come into this year, they open the year 2-2, and it's not what you want to see if you're a Jaguars fan. But as I look more and more into this, I'm not as worried, because when you look at the teams they lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. You're welcome again.
Yeah.
And the Texans.
Oh, yeah.
I know you'll be happy. Look much more improved. They finally found a quarterback who is level-headed, knows how to play football, and is not an off-the-field issue.
Just looking for points at this point.
Exactly. So he's the Ohio State quarterback who is trying to beat the allegations of, they can't play in the NFL. Justin, please play better. It's not your fault, buddy. But nonetheless, it's not. We're only 4 games into the season. I'm not freaking out about the Jacksonville Jaguars just yet, but that game against the Texans does raise my eyebrow a little bit, because that is the Texans that were the worst team in the league last year. Sorry. But nonetheless, I think Jacksonville, starting off to not the best start, but I think this is a playoff team, and as they kind of get their footing under him, Travis Etienne, a big part of that offense, they finally get Calvin Ridley back, who's been looking pretty good throughout the first couple of weeks, so give him some time, but questionable start.
Yeah, I agree. Questionable start for the Jags, especially now. A loss to the Chiefs isn't that bad. A loss to the Texans, starts to raise some eyebrows. Playing the Bills this week in London again. We'll see how that goes. I like that call. Great answers across the board, as usual. The 3 here I'm going to give to David, though. Like the analysis on the Vikings, 1-3 start. Been very lackluster after going, I forget what the record was last year, but it was a lot better than how they started. There you go, 13 wins. So I'm going to give you the 3. With the 2, I'm going to give it to Tommy. I like the Jags answer a lot. Just plain and simple, not as good as we thought. But last year they did start bad and then got better as the season went on. That's why I'm going to give you the 2. The 1 here, Jason's laughing at me. I like the Vikings pick, but I don't think the offense has been the issue. I think it's mainly been the defense. So I'm going to give you the 1. Great answers all around by our contestants. And adding up, I'm going to get the scores after that round. We've got rapid fire coming up next. Stay with us. You won't want to miss it.
2, 1.
Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a tight game right now with Tommy leading the way with 12 points, still in first, with Jason and David tied for second now with 9. But it's still anyone's contest to take as we enter into the final round of tonight's show that's worth double the points. And my advice to the contestants, don't get caught in the crossfire. Let's get into our first question. NBA Media Days was earlier this week, and there were some weird looks going on. From Jimmy Butler being, quote, emo, and Damian Lillard for the first time having other All-Stars around him on the Bucks. It was an odd day, to say the least. If you were in the NBA and could wear any outfit or costume to Media Days for all to see, what would you wear and why? Anybody can start, anybody can answer.
Well, it's a really easy question, honestly, because Grady Dick already did it. He absolutely wore the most beautiful, bedazzled red suit that just screams, I'm going to be a great NBA player. He didn't care what anybody thought of him. And you know what? He got respect from everybody in the NBA. So you know what? Shout out to you, Grady Dick.
Okay. I like it. The styling.
I would wear some skin-tight jorts and nothing else. I'm very comfortable in my own skin, and I'd want a ton of pictures of myself with all the nice cameras and media attention there.
We have a bedazzled red suit and skin-tight jorts. Tommy, what do you have to say?
Oh, that.
Yeah, it's a
I really don't. You guys gave me like half a second to think about what I was going to put on. You know, I did like what Jimmy Butler did with his hair, so I'm thinking I could do something with my hair as well. I would want like just a mohawk, but like a comically high mohawk. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Like you have
Like Birdman.
usual ones. Yeah, you have Birdman's mohawk. Multiply that by like 5.
Okay.
I just want a mohawk that's like grazing on the top of the facility as I'm walking around. Like, you can't miss me. If you remember the press, you want to come ask me a question, you know you're going to get a good picture of it. Why not?
Okay. Fair enough. We got tall mohawk, we have red bedazzled suit, and we have skin-tight shorts. quite the answers there. In this round, I'm not going to say who's getting what amount of points. You'll hear at the end who is the winner. Moving to the second question, the Bears continue to be the laughingstock of the NFL as they're now 0-4 on the season, and other Chicago teams don't seem to be thriving either, as the Cubs and White Sox both failed to make the playoffs. As things currently stand in sports right now, who is the worst overall sports city and why? Anybody can go.
Yeah, nobody on the planet of Earth was going to be able to take this question away from me. Chicago. What are we doing? What is going on? And I'm only going to talk about the Bears here because Jason can touch on the White Sox and Cubs. Chicago Bears have lost 14 straight games. Going around on Twitter with a question box at the top that says, have you won a game since Elon Musk purchased Twitter? Every other professional sports team across any major league, yes, Elon Musk bought it in December 2022. Of course we won a game. The only no is the Chicago Bears. Across all sports. What is happening? Also, Soldier Field has $100,000 worth of equipment robbed? What? One of the oldest, most prominent facilities in sports, in one of the biggest cities in America, gets robbed and no one knows about it? I mean, what is going on? The team itself is bad enough. Matt Eberflus doesn't know how to coach. Luke Getsy plays to his quarterback's weaknesses. And Justin Fields looks like the worst quarterback ever until last week, of course, when he looks like a god, which he's promised to be. And then the Bears defense gives up 28 straight points to Russell Wilson, and they lose in the worst possible fashion of all time. Chicago, get it fixed.
Love it. That was great analysis. I love that. Okay.
Here's the second Bears fan.
And nobody can take this question away from myself either, but I'm going to talk about my city of Chicago for different reasons.
Okay.
Tommy said enough about the Bears. I'm going to talk about the White Sox and the Bulls. What was that this past year? The White Sox, first of all, never mind the abomination of a 100-loss team on the field. A shooting at the ballpark. Really? How does that happen?
Yeah.
Shooting at the ballpark, you had all types of locker room issues throughout the year. God knows what was happening there. The players didn't care. Keenan Middleton got traded and immediately spoke to the media. And God bless him, honestly, because that's the first sign of change that we have seen on the South Side in years. Jerry Reinsdorf fired Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams. They've been with the organization for as long as I have been alive. And then he brings in somebody in Chris Getz who is already with the organization. What are you doing? You need a different school of thought. Now I'm going to give the White Sox a rest because because I don't want to beat around the bush too much. The Chicago Bulls are the most directionless team in the NBA. One player on that team is going to be a good basketball player in 5 years. Lonzo Ball will be retired. DeMar DeRozan will be retired. Nikola Vucevic will be retired. Zach LaVine won't be as good as he is now. Patrick Williams will be in a different profession. The Bulls are awful. No direct. Yeah, maybe Kobe White. He'll be in Cleveland by then. Chicago is the worst sports city. Connor Bedard, give us something to smile about on ice this year, please. The Cubs are terrible too, by the way. I gotta save a bullet for you guys.
Wow, quite the. I didn't mean to go like all ham on Chicago. That was not the point of the question. I was genuinely curious. No, it was not. I promise you that. All right, David, let's hear it.
Well, what's worse than knowing that your season is absolutely over before it begins? Knowing that your organization is functionless and that there's no rhyme or reason to have any hope. It's believing that you're going to be good every single season. Believing that you have a chance to not only make the playoffs, but maybe win the Super Bowl, win the World Series. Welcome to Dallas.
Ready to jump out of his chair.
Welcome to Dallas, where dreams go to die. You haven't won anything since the 80s, and you aren't going to anytime soon. Sorry, Cowboys fans. Enjoy your Cardinals loss.
Wow. There's some serious shade going on in here. My God. Hold on, I'm assigning points here. Hold on now. Hold on.
Get the 6 for that. Dude, you both.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Tie for
That might be one of the greatest trio of answers in the history of the show.
All very valid. All very valid. Okay, final question of the show tonight. As mentioned earlier in the show, the Longhorns and Sooners go head-to-head this weekend in Dallas. Along with the game, there was a big state fair outside the stadium before and after for all fans to go to. This fair includes great food, roller coasters, and games. If you could add anything to make the fair more fun, what would it be, and why would it be fun?
All right, I'm going with the best answer here off the bat. Sorry, fellas. If I'm adding something, when you go to a fair, you play games, you go on rides, things like that.
Sure.
I'm going to give you the ultimate football-specific game that you can put at a fair. You always have long lines for rides and games and things like that. You have enough for 22 people. You put 11 people on each side, and you run 4 downs each in a football game. And you have these randoms just go at it for 4 downs on each side. You start at the 25, every team gets 25 yards, and they have to score a touchdown in 4 downs, and the other team gets a chance. You have kids who can play it. You have adults who want to relive their primes that can play it. You have high school football recruits who think they're worth being 3, 4, 5 stars, who are really the worst players on their team playing it. You can decide who you want to be your offensive line without offending anybody. Like, so many opportunities there. You get to feel like you're in the game, and you really get to, make a bond with some new teammates and meet some folks around the fair. Really, Oklahoma fans and Texas fans, they can play against each other. If they want to team up and move towards world peace, they can do that too. Just let them have fun. Let them play some football.
Wow. Okay. Are these guys padded, or is it just skating?
Yeah, it's padded.
Okay, it's padded.
We got enough money to give these folks pads and jerseys and helmets, right?
Okay.
I mean, if I was playing, if I see some, 12-year-old kid, I'm laying the hit stick on him. He's not on my team. You have to get ready for the next play, buddy.
Okay. Hit sticking 12-year-old boys. All right. I like that, though. It's fun.
Is there anything better in this world than live music? I think it's this camera, yeah. Is there anything better in this world than live music? No. I'd had a Taylor Swift concert. I think that'd be awesome. And on top of that, can you imagine if we brought O.J. Simpson from Las Vegas, okay, and we brought one of those dunk tanks, because O.J. Simpson is not a model citizen, and we got O.J. in his golf shirt and golf shorts straight off the golf course, and we put him in the dunk tank, and for 5 tickets, you can go up, and you throw the football at the target, and if it hits it, boom, you dunk O.J. Simpson. All while Taylor Swift is playing right in front of Big Ten. How amazing is that? I'm getting too excited thinking about it. I gotta get this
Dude, I'm about to start crying happy tears over this.
Truck sticking a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out for you.
I'm crying from laughter over here almost. Oh my God. Taylor Swift and a dunk tank with O.J. Simpson. Okay. Last answer. Let's hear it.
Well,
Bring us home.
when I'm around at these little, events, I've had a couple beers, I'm having good fun. I'm having fun for apples, playing arcade games. There's nothing more that I want to do.
For apples?
In the olden days, maybe. I don't know. Not nowadays. There's nothing I want to do more than just, get some keys. So, tractor racing, but Mario Kart style. I think.
Wow. Yeah.
And the night, you know.
Yeah.
I just love driving, you know, and I think that'd be a great way to add it to the fair a little bit.
Nothing like large machinery and a bunch of insane fans going at it on a racetrack.
Wouldn't be any different. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh, guys. Those were amazing answers to end off the show. Wow. But there can only be one winner. And I appreciate you all being here. It's been a great show. And the winner is, let's get a quick little drum roll. And it wasn't by much, I'll tell you that. Tommy Yarrish wins the show tonight, the former host. Tommy, congratulations on the win. Do we have time for FaceTime?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Tommy, little message.
Well, what an honor. Great to be back on this show that I hosted all year last year. Such an honor to be alongside these two fine gentlemen. I couldn't have asked for better opponents. I respect the hell out of them both. It's been a wonderful night. It's great to have the crowd here. I didn't have much of a crowd when I was the host, and probably rightfully so. You guys would have been wasting your time, but I'm glad it's here for my good friend, because I'm a bad host, by the way.
Oh, come on. No.
But I'm glad that you all are coming out for the show that is Brian Swantkowski's done a phenomenal job, and I'm looking forward to coming back next week to try and win again.
Appreciate that, Tommy. All kind words. Much love to the winner over here. Let's give it a little round of applause for Tommy. Congrats to you again, Tommy.
It was a ton of fun.
Thank you guys for coming on as well. And that will wrap things up for us here at TSTV tonight. Thank you to everyone who makes the show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel, all the people in Master Control, and to you, the audience, especially. I'm your host, Brian Swantkowski, and we'll see you next week.